Is Middle East safer than it was on January 2nd before killing of General Soleimani, in your view?
I believe so. The Middle East has always had challenges. We have challenges in terms of the Arab-Israeli conflict in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq. We have challenges with Iran's aggressive behavior throughout the region. We have challenges in Afghanistan. We're trying to calm tensions between India and Pakistan. We have a war in Yemen. We have trying to stabilize and help Sudan move towards a better place. We have challenges in the Horn of Africa. We have challenges in Libya. We have challenges in the G5 countries. We have challenges with human trafficking, with piracy, and with energy issues. And so those challenges have always existed, and our role is to try to bring an end to those challenges by resolving.
Now you have an angry Tehran to all these challenges. Was it a good, right, and timely move from the United States to kill General Soleimani?
I can't guess about what the timing is or not. He was known to be running the head of a major terrorist organization in the world that has been involved and responsible for the murder of thousands of people around the world, for attacks against embassies, for attacks against freedom of navigation and other things. So I'm not going to question whether it was wrong or right. I believe that he was a commander in a war, and he got killed in the war.
Has it been a good news for Saudi Arabia?
We don't really. We think that the important thing is to try to de-escalate and try to avoid escalation at any cost, and try to move towards a more normal situation.
You are speaking about de-escalation. So has killing of General Soleimani been part of this process? It seems opposite.
Yeah, what I was saying is that the Iranian-backed militias attacked Iraqi bases in Iraq that had forces from the international coalition to fight against ISIS, including American forces. An American contractor was killed and several others were injured, so the US exercised the right of self-defense and attacked bases belonging to Hezbollah in Iraq and in Syria. And then the Iranians retaliated, and the US killed Qasem Soleimani, and the Iranians retaliated with ballistic missiles. Our point is, we need to find a way to avoid. We condemned the attacks against the bases. We supported the US right to defend itself. And we condemned the Iranian missile attacks against Iraq because we see it as a violation of Iraqi sovereignty. And we called for calm and restraint on both sides. And I think we should be working towards de-escalating and moving on.
Iraqi Prime Minister said that General Soleimani was in Baghdad with a message for Saudi Arabia. Can you confirm that?
I don't know anything about that.
Have you been in contact with Tehran in the last few months, even in direct contact through Baghdad?
We have had a number of leaders who've come to us to convey messages or to ask us about calm and so forth, and our response is always the same. We don't need a back channel. Iran knows what it needs to do. Iran needs to change its aggressive behavior towards Saudi Arabia in the region if it wants us to deal with them as a normal country.
There has been a rapid decrease of a bombing campaign in Yemen. Has it been a part of thaw or maybe detente towards Iran in recent months from Saudi Arabia?
No, it has been because of understandings with the Houthis. We have made it clear to the Houthis that we did not start this war. They did, by staging a coup. We intervened 9 months later. We said from day one that this settlement is a political settlement, not a military settlement. We told the Houthis that they have a right to play a role in Yemen just like everybody else, but they have no right to have a militia or have veto power. And we have also made it clear to the Houthis that we are equal in dealing with all Yemenis. But all Yemenis have to agree that the unity of Yemen, the stability of Yemen, and peace in Yemen is very important. We have provided, since the war began, more than $14 billion in humanitarian assistance. We will continue to provide aid to Yemen. We will continue to provide support for the reconstruction of Yemen. And so what has happened in the past few months is we've seen a de-escalation on both sides. Military operations are down by over 80%. We've seen confidence-building measures. We worked on bringing the Yemenis together in the Riyadh agreement, and I think that was a powerful signal to all Yemenis, including the Houthis, that Saudi Arabia supports all Yemenis. And we have had an exchange of prisoners, and we continue to work with the Yemeni government and with all Yemenis to try to move the process forward to fully implement Stockholm and to fully implement UN Resolution 2216.
It seems like a good news. Is it like isolated only for Yemen, in the case of Yemen, or was it the whole process of your relationship with Iran as well?
It's really, Iran has no role to play in Yemen. Iran
it plays. We know that it plays.
Now it does, but for 2,000 years, Iran has not laid one brick to build a hospital or a road or a school in Yemen. The only thing they've done is provide ballistic missiles that are used against Saudi Arabia. So Iran has no role to play in Yemen. The issue in Yemen is a Yemeni issue, and it has to do with how we move the country towards a better place than where it is now. We are prepared to support Yemen 100% in order to get there. We have no ambitions. We have no interest in dominating Yemen. We just need to make sure that Yemen is not dominated by a hostile militia allied with Iran and Hezbollah.
A few months ago in Iran, there have been huge demonstrations, 1,500 people killed. Now there are the biggest crowds since the funeral of Ayatollah Khomeini. Do you think what this attack or what this killing of General Soleimani actually managed was to unite Iran?
I believe we're seeing demonstrations continuing inside Iran against the policies of the government. We're seeing for the first time demonstrations in the Shia area of Iraq against Iranian domination of Iraq. We're seeing demonstrations among the Shia in Lebanon against Hezbollah for the first time in 36 or 38 years. So I think the message is that people want better government, they want more accountable government, they want more efficient government, and they want a government that does not take them from one war to another, but that provides them with hope and opportunity.
There have been some people who said that it's a similar situation with 1914, when Archduke Franz Ferdinand was killed in Sarajevo, which started World War I, that this killing of General Soleimani has the same potential. Do you feel it the same way? I
don't believe so, and I hope that's not the case, because we have everybody is trying to avoid war at all costs, because war is very destructive. In Saudi Arabia, we are focused on implementing our reform agenda, Vision 2030, which is led by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. We want to diversify our economy, we want to empower women, we want to empower youth, we want to have an economy that's based on technology and innovation. We want to open up areas like mining and tourism and recreation and entertainment. We want to have a society that is moderate, a society that is inclusive. We want to provide opportunity for the 70% of our population that is under the age of 30, so that they can realize their hopes, their dreams, and their ambitions, and in the process make us wealthier and more powerful and less susceptible to the dangers around us. That's our vision, compared to the Iranian vision, which is death and destruction and spreading a revolution.
How endangered is this vision by the recent development in the region?
We have to deal with every challenge as it emerges, and we have to have, which we do as our top priority, the welfare of our citizens. We need to provide them with security, and we need to provide them with opportunity. And what we have is, my personal hope is that this may be a moment where people say, enough is enough. Let's try to move beyond this.
You mean from Iranian side, people from Iranian side, or from all sides?
Because the aggression has always been from the Iranian side since 1979. They created Hezbollah in Lebanon. They attacked the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon. They killed the U.S. Marines at Beirut International Airport. They hijacked diplomats and assassinated them, including Saudi diplomats. They attacked embassies, including the Saudi embassy in '87 and again in 2015. They were responsible for the blowing up of Khobar Towers in '96 in my country. They were responsible for allowing Saif al-Adad, the Al-Qaeda chief of operations, to give the order from Iran on his cell phone to the guys in Riyadh who blew up 3 housing compounds in 2003. And this is undisputed. We have the conversation taped. They were responsible for hijackings, for attacks against synagogue in Argentina, a bus in Bulgaria, a nightclub in Germany, assassinating diplomats in France and other places. And most recently, they were responsible for potential assassinations. If you remember, the diplomats who were arrested or expelled, Belgium, Germany, France, all of this. They're responsible for almost 300 ballistic missiles being lobbed at Saudi Arabia. What would you do in the Czech Republic if you had 20 missiles landing in Prague? Would you sit there and just take it? They're responsible for more than 200 drones that have attacked civilian populations in Saudi Arabia. We have not fired one bullet at Iran.
I believe that the criticism from the Iranian side would be maybe as long as yours against the Iranians. One more thing you have said that Iran is behind is the attack on Saudi oil facilities in September last year. Has the defense improved since then? Because it seems that it could be one of the targets of potential retaliation.
Well, to be accurate, we have said that we hold Iran responsible because the missiles and the drones were Iranian made and the attack came from the north. We asked the UN to send inspectors, and we asked the US and Great Britain, France and other countries to send experts so that we can establish where they were launched from. We have then said that once we establish where the attack came from, then we can assign blame. But we hold Iran responsible because these missiles were Iranian-made missiles and Iranian-made drones, and they came from the north. We have, in the meantime, established a maritime security force with the United States in the Gulf. We have also, in the process of establishing a maritime security force that's led by the Europeans. A number of countries have offered to send military equipment to be used in the Gulf or on land. And so we're working with our partners around the world to build up our deterrent capability so that something like this doesn't happen. The attack against Abqaiq was not an attack against Saudi Arabia. It was an attack against the world. When you take out 5% of the world's oil production, every human being, Japan, India, Czech Republic, UK, America, every human being is affected by this attack. So Iran attacked the world. It didn't attack Saudi Arabia. That's why we have all our partners from around the world coming to provide support and deterrence.
What do you expect in your region in the next few weeks, few months?
I hope that people will realize that the policies of aggression and the policies of extremism and the policies of trying to export revolutions are failed policies. I hope that they will come around to the idea that instead of dealing with the dark side that I just mentioned, they should deal with the bright side, which is take care of your people, provide them with opportunity, provide them with technology, provide them with the means to succeed in the world.
There are some people who are saying that there are enough dark colors even in your side. You mentioned cooperation with other countries. How was it influenced by the murder of Jamal Khashoggi?
Jamal Khashoggi's murder was a huge crime that was very painful for Saudi Arabia. It was a mistake that should not have happened. His Majesty and the Crown Prince called for an investigation. The public prosecutor investigated. I believe 11 people were charged and put on trial. 5 of them, he asked for the death penalty. More than 30 people, I believe, and this has all been put out by the public prosecution, so if I have my numbers off, I'm going from memory. More than 30 people were questioned and investigated, and now the verdict came out from the court, sentencing a number of people to jail terms, and sentencing, I believe, 4 or 5 with the death penalty. So now it's going to be appealed, I believe, and the appellate court will make that decision. So we investigated, we're holding people accountable, we will be punishing people, and we reviewed our security procedures to make sure that something like this does not happen again in the future.
How hard is it to explain that this official version that actually this was a rock crime without approval from the highest yes. Posts in your monarchy? How hard is it to explain it to your partners abroad?
What we tell them is we say, look, you had Abu Ghraib in Iraq. Did the commanding officer know about it? No. Did Don Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, know about it? No. Did George Bush know about it? No. These are individuals who acted outside the scope of their authority. What did the US do? Investigate, hold accountable, punish, put in place procedures to stop it from happening again. In the 1980s, Oliver North got involved with Iran-Contra because he thought that's what President Reagan wanted, which is not the case. What did the US do? It investigated, it held people accountable, and it put in procedures to prevent something like this from happening again. This is a terrible crime that was committed. This is a crime that we want to make sure cannot happen again. And this is something that we will live with for many, many years.
Why the Czech Republic and your visit nowadays, now? What's the reason for it?
I received an invitation 2 or 3 years ago from my colleague, and I promised I would come. And so now I came. We have had relations with the Czech Republic, diplomatic relations, for 25 years, but we've never had a visit. And so I thought we need to do this. There are a lot of opportunities between the Czech Republic and Saudi Arabia in terms of trade and investment, whether it's in artificial intelligence, whether it's in robotics, whether it's in infrastructure, energy, renewable energy, construction. We have a lot of opportunities that we think we need to move forward. We have a lot of respect for your country's history. We have a lot of respect for how your country has dealt with different crises, whether it's the Prague Spring or whether it's how you're able to separate from Slovakia in a peaceful way. I don't believe there are any other countries that were able to do this. And when I walk around your beautiful capital, I see buildings that go back 1,000 years. And so you have a tremendous legacy. And we believe that the way you look at the world and the way you look at yourselves and the focus on technology and innovation and robotics and artificial intelligence is something that we believe we can cooperate on and we can do great things with.
There has been some criticism of Czech president because of some of his remarks about Islam. How do you feel that? Do you think this threatens the relations between the Czech Republic and Saudi Arabia?
We believe that the Czech people are modest and honorable people, and they're open-minded people. We believe that the position of the Czech government is against extremism of any kind, against any kind of criticizing of minorities and so forth. And we want to focus on the positives, and the positives are that you had in the Czech Republic, for instance, an incident at the mosque. And one of the first groups to criticize that incident was the Jewish community. Because if you attack a minority, whatever the name of the minority, next time you can be attacked. And next time the other minority can be attacked. And so the idea that we're working towards is to dialogue, avoiding criticism, avoiding extremism. We're doing it in Saudi Arabia, in our schools, in our media, in our mosques. We're trying to instill a culture of moderation and acceptance. We have launched a interfaith dialogue among religions in 2007 that brings all the religions and all the cultures together. It has been holding meetings on a regular basis since that time. Our idea is to make sure that people understand that all of us are children of God, that all of us have the same value system, and that irrespective of what you call yourself, you're the same. And we believe in our Muslim faith that you have to believe in all the prophets, Abraham and Moses, Jesus and Muhammad, to be a good Muslim. We believe that there is no compulsion in religion. We believe it is written in the Quran, and it's in fact inscribed on the entry to the Foreign Ministry of Saudi Arabia, the verse from the Quran that says, "We have made you from a male and female and made you into nations and tribes so that you may know each other." It didn't say so you may kill each other. And so these are the principles that we want to move forward. God with his ultimate power, to quote the late King Abdullah at his speech in Madrid in 2009, said that God could have made us all worship him in exactly the same way. The fact that he chose for us to worship him in different ways should be cause for us to celebrate our differences, not use it to divide us. So we believe that moderation, inclusion, is the path for the future. Our world is getting smaller, not bigger. We are getting more, not less. When you have a disease in Africa, it can affect somebody in Singapore. When you have a fire in Brazil, it can affect somebody in Riyadh. When you have a war in Libya, it can affect somebody in the Czech Republic. So we have to find a way to deal with our commonalities rather than to find ways to divide us.
If you should name one concrete step which would follow, the most important step which should follow your visit over here, which will enhance the relations between the Czech Republic and Saudi Arabia, what would it be?
More trips. We have had, this is the first trip by a foreign minister or a minister from the foreign ministry in 25 years. We haven't, I believe, we need to increase the contact because Woody Allen, the American actor and producer, used to say that 90% of life is showing up. If you don't show up, if you don't engage, if you don't talk, you miss a lot of opportunities. And so we want to encourage more visits by Saudi officials and Saudi businessmen to the Czech Republic, and we want to encourage more visits by officials and citizens of the Czech Republic to Saudi Arabia. You can now get to Saudi Arabia without a visa. You can do it online.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thanks.